Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your neighborhood friendly male witch, the occultist, the one and only Spencer. As the title denotes, perception is a bitch. It really is. The reason why I say that is having more experiences, working with different pantheons, even speaking with Yahweh, it's very enlightening, very enlightening indeed. The reason why I say that is because I just want to jump into it. Speaking to Yahweh, okay, helped me to appreciate something about how perception and how the world is really built upon lies, and how two different people look at the same thing and get completely different results. It's like looking at a number 6 on the ground. As I perceive it to be the number 6 and I'm correct, the other person on the other side perceives the number as the number 9 and they feel they are correct. Hence, I reiterate, perception is a pitch. It kind of reminds me of the Kabbalion, where in the Kabbalion, there's only half-truths. All is half-truths, and there's a lot of wisdom in that. See, that's why I'm connecting that when it comes to perception. When I heard Yahweh help me to appreciate how if you perceive the information of the so-called Bible, people will look at these holy scriptures as holy, while someone looking at the same book will not see divine at any measure. They'll just see it as just a book. Yahweh continued by saying that certain groups, and still sticking within Christianity, and again, we're still on the topic of perception here, okay? You have one church could be seconds away from yet another one on the same neighborhood, and they could perceive the Bible as different. Some will say that Jesus is only the Son of God. I think that's Catholics. He's the Son of God, and yet he is God the Father, and the Holy Spirit is also the Father. While just seconds away, that other church, that sect, of Christianity will say, no, Jesus is in fact God. Yahweh says, objective truth is difficult to attain. Therefore, reality is perception. What you perceive to be your objective reality is only for you, even though it's through your perception. That's no different than what I say on this channel when I say that, I look at Lucifer in the feminine as Lucifera. That is my perception of the truth. And I have to admit, by speaking with Yahweh for about 4 to 5 minutes, I've learned something, right? It doesn't make me Jewish, or it doesn't make me Christian by listening to Yahweh. Wisdom is wisdom for me. So that's why I try to always encourage you guys to widen out, mix and match, if you will. See, as an occultist, you want to do that. If you want to learn at the feet of an angel, then tomorrow at the feet of a devil, do so. I mean, they're all just the scriptures anyway. And let me explain. A descriptor or a description in the term of angel and devil is just that. A demon is just a description of a being that once was an angel, and an angel simply means just a messenger. It doesn't really tell you much about the being other than the descriptor, or the description that denotes said being. It's like if you were to describe me as, a male witch. It says nothing about me being a good father, a good dancer, and so forth, or singer. The point of me bringing this up, friends, is that when we think about perception, we have to realize that the closer we are to this so-called objective truth, right, things are going to be a lot more clearer for us, but it's up to us to see it. We may in fact not like what we see at the very end of the process. It kind of reminds me of one of my favorite pop culture sitcoms. Well, it's not really a sitcom. It's X-Files. It's a TV show that I thought was not just humorous, but its heavy information was just so good that I've learned so much from it, and yet I'm gonna reference it here in this video. X-Files was about a man named Agent Mulder that throughout about let's say 8 to 9 seasons was searching for a so-called objective truth. And you probably hear this iconic phrase, the truth is out there, right? So he believed that his sister was abducted by aliens. And I always related to this character because I believe in there's something else out there. I believe in extraterrestrial, right? I mean, what is a demon or an angel if they're not extraterrestrial? Even labeling a being God is in fact only a description of what we perceive this being to be. That's a god. But by definition, it is in fact alien to us because it's not human. It's like other descriptions like Anunnaki, Elohim. It means powerful ones or those who come from the sky. And again, it says nothing about who the individual is as a whole, just giving you what they do, only partially. Now, when I think about that TV show X-Files, right? Interestingly enough, as the seasons was going on and time was going by, Agent Mulder was challenged by his beliefs, this chasing after this objective truth. To only realize that as he got closer and closer and closer, you have to realize the objective truth never changed. It was only his perception of it, because as our life and our experiences that we have to endure, we have to develop, even change just a bit for yet other truths to help supplement what we already believe in, what we already know, or what we think we know, to move forward in life. And this is why I thought X-Files was perfect when it comes to making this video about perception, about the occult. It is a journey. It's supposed to be vigorous, difficult. It's like alchemy. You're not going to get it right the first time. Trial and error, like Agent Mulder. Even his partner, Scully, she had to learn as well. But anyhow, as he moves closer to this objective truth, if you will, interestingly, the government had did something very clever. They put the objective truth, if you will, in between two convenient lies. So in other words, as Agent Mulder went closer and closer to this objective truth that he tried to prove throughout, the seasons of X-Files, which is his character, that his sister was abducted, he was in Area 51 in a bunker underground, and then to only realize that what he saw was an alien on a table and it was being operated on. He thought that was the truth. But remember what we said before. It's a convenient lie that is sandwiched, or it's put in a convenient way to have the truth inside. So by reaching the bunker and this alien, what he thought was the truth was not. It was a convenient lie. And then what ended up happening is that he figured out that it was a lie. It was an other ruse of the government, and it hurt him very, very much. In fact, he wanted to quit the X-Files. His character was destroyed. He even went public about how what he thought was real, that's the aliens, were not, because his perception changed. Then what ended up happening is that you have Mr. X, or Deep Throat, had to come to rekindle that fire. Because it wouldn't be X-Files if Agent Mulder wasn't being Agent Mulder. And it's the same for you and I. Just because our perception changes or challenges what we perceive to be an objective truth, you simply have to pivot. You have to learn to change that perception. You have to endure. You need to be welcoming challenges. And believe me, Agent Mulder throughout the many series have welcomed lots of challenges. But there are more challenges that are more severe than others. So after a good pep talk, He was able to get back on his feet, even when it comes to Agent Scully. I wanted to add that because she was a person of faith who believed in God, but she was a scientist. And Agent Mulder was a person that was about aliens, but he didn't believe in God, but yet he believed in angels. He believed in aliens. Right? I dodged a bullet there. I could hear people now with the comment section who are massive fans of X-Files. No, he didn't believe in angels. He believed in aliens. What are you talking about? And you're right. Okay, I'll take that. It's a good thing I correct myself, right? But long story short, there was a point in, I believe, season 8 or season 9, he found himself with a closure, realizing that perhaps his sister was in fact abducted, but not the way he perceived it to be. Meaning, this is another convenient lie, okay? The government helped him to appreciate that on a military base, that his sister grew up with a said half-brother, right? Spender, I believe. And what ended up happening was that he had to find closure. That perhaps the truth is not what he says it is. It's another layer that he had to just jump over. It was a hurdle, and it hurt him a lot. But he had to find closure. That perhaps that she wasn't abducted by aliens, and how he was perceiving things to be as a young man, okay, was not exactly that. Perhaps his brain had to fix such a dramatic event in his life to make sense to him. But to only realize that too was yet another, that's right, convenient lie. And as the series was drawing its end, we realized that Agent Mulder did find, in fact, aliens, okay? And he did, in fact, find that his sister was abducted, and she's doing just fine. And of course, that was with a whole new set of storytelling with other renegade aliens trying to undermine the aliens that Agent Mulder was trying to search after, which had his sister. So what's the point in all this? Well, the point is, when it comes to our perception, as I said earlier, the closer you are to this so-called objective truth, it remains the same. Think of it. Let's say, for example, you wanted to be some magician, right, when you was a kid. And this is how it comes full circle when it comes to this really good TV show that I watched when I was younger, X-Files. Okay? The point that we're trying to make here is that if you wanted to be a magician when you was a kid, as you grew up, you realize that as you gotten closer to this dream of yours, the idea, the concept, the structure of what a magician is doesn't change. It's just your perception of it. It remains the same the entire time. You went through a lot of hurdles. You met a lot of occultists like myself to teach you what magic is and also what it is not. It's no different than someone wanting to be a fireman, a police officer. You reach out for these things, only realize that becoming one, it was a lot more difficult. You had to see the grim side of these things in order to become one. It's the same thing when it comes to X-Files. To realize that his daughter, that's Agent Mulder, was abducted, he had to have been abducted himself. So it comes full circle when it comes to all of us. And that's the point of perception. Perception is a fickle thing. It's a lot more to it than what you think. See, in other words, as I mentioned the pop culture reference of X-Files, or even hinting at your own life and what you want to become, you can still see that it is all relative, right? Especially in regards to perception. It doesn't necessarily mean that your beliefs have to be the same as someone else's. It just simply means, what are you willing to do in order to achieve it? The good and the bad. That's another thing Yahweh helped me to appreciate at the time. in the course of the 5 minutes, even though this is like almost a 20-minute video, you help me to appreciate not just the perception of things, but how there's positive and negative in everything that we do. It's like polarity, reminds you of the Kabbalion. Help me to appreciate how when you look at said Bible, people are going to see positive and negative in it through their perception. Either you like it or not. Either he likes it or not. That's why it's so true that if you're in a room, or if I'm in a room, and there's 600 of you guys who are listening to this video, right? As my subscribers or viewers, there's going to be 600 perceptive viewpoints of who you perceive me to be as I speak to you. Either it's real or not, positive or negative, it really doesn't matter, because it doesn't change the truth of the matter. And remember, there's half-truths to everything in this world. So even if this person goes, man, I don't like his voice, well, there's some truth to that. Perhaps my voice is just too calming for them and they want someone a little bit more upbeat or whatever have you. It doesn't mean the person is wrong. It just means that from their perception, they just don't like it. All right. But the next one that Yahweh, and along with other beings that I was communicating with, either it be Elohim, the Anunnaki, Lucifer, it doesn't matter. Because as I've been saying throughout this channel for years now, okay, you want to mix and match. You want to mix it all up, right? Do not limit yourself when it comes to these beings teaching you. Therefore, I've learned not learning by, but from these different beings, is that it's interestingly enough that you need to stretch the boundaries of sanity, the fabrics of it, until you're just rubbing shoulders with insanity. And what that means is that if you did not consider something and it scares you, which is fair, that's a good thing. When you fear something new because it violates your perception, that means you need to learn something about yourself or the thing in which you fear, or you need to overcome it, right? Especially if it terrorizes you. This says a lot about yourself. It's the first signs of wisdom, Lucifer. Help me to appreciate. That's a female Lucifer, right? That's another sign that details this video of my own perception. It doesn't have to be the same as yours. That is getting in contact with the female Lucifer. If it's in the masculine to you, then that's what it is. You don't scoff at it. You just notice that if you're uneasy about it, right, it just simply means that you need to learn something about it. That's a good thing about perception. And mind you, those who have a more standardized, rigid way of believing, it's more structure, do know I'm not here to say to tear it down, because structure is also very interesting. It works for most people. That's why you have religion. People need a holy book, Baba Vita, Holy Bible, Torah, Quran. These things are needed for people. All right. So for you lovely people that are listening, welcome. It just means that as an occultist, I'm very well aware of what is hidden. That's why I am revealing it. And what that is to say is that when Lucifer told me that you have to touch insanity, she meant it. And what does she mean by that? Well, she meant that the things of which you've learned is going to be problematic for you. Perhaps you're limiting yourself. You're in fear. So I too, like everyone else, have to change my perspective on things. That's a good thing about meeting different beings and so forth, learning new things. You're not sticking to one thing. Perhaps for me, from my perspective, or different than those who are watching, I don't need that much structure. There's others that need it. I do not. Hence, I could be liberated in one way, while others need more restriction. I'm not here to take away or knock down no one's beliefs. That is why I love what I do. It kind of reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. Here I am again, quoting pop culture. Okay? When Alice goes into Wonderland, she's able to see things on the other side. It's enlightening, it's strange, it's different. She has to touch insanity in order to be enlightened. Reminds me of yet another pop culture reference, The Matrix, how Neo had to learn something completely different, that perhaps we are living in a simulation and so forth. So therefore, my question to you is, what if you have, let's say, a grain of sand in the palm of your hands, right? And within it is a lifetime of experience, of knowledge. Would you accept it? Right? Kind of reminds me of The Matrix, red pill, blue pill. Sometimes when we're presented with these things, right, we tend to scoff at it, throw it away, because it's just so different. We fear it because it denotes change in us, right? So we run to the opposite direction or to the hill. But wisdom comes is when you do something different. That is why I said wisdom comes. Let me repeat, because my door slammed there. Wisdom comes when you actually remove fear. Mind you, fear is actually a good thing. It means that you haven't, experienced anything new, but it's not an all-encompassing thing, like living in fear. That's too much. That's why we said earlier, there's a positive and negative to everything. Too much could be overwhelming. We don't want that. So therefore, notice it in that way, that if you're presented with something, learn from it. You will be better off, because your perception determines your reality. And when you see it that way, and you could accept that of others, no matter if it's a holy book, it's a religion, or an occultist, or whatever have you, try to learn, especially if it's not harmful to you and that of others. And if you do that, you're going to do well. And expect adversity. It's not supposed to be easy. Okay? So with that said, I love every single one of you. See you guys next time. Bye.